Possible prologue. She can't be shaved. The sad big bone mother of two is not Pandora, and that her desire to open the box, the deep-throated compulsion that gives her thoughts a discomfiting tingle, isn't driven by curiosity, but a wish. It has something to do with an uncertain trudge through the spolia of a fits and starts life, one that has reduced her to little more than an urge to condense in on herself so compactly she might burst into immeasurable, nothing feeling, aimless bits. She knows what's inside the box, doesn't she? Must she? Her hippocampus, that lost little seahorse, has given her the gift of forgetting. Why should she betray it? The box is not Pandora's box, or jar, for that matter. Its contents are not entirely unknown. Also, it's not the box of man but of one person. This, Christine's box, wasn't given to her by Zeus, but bought at the messy closet thrift shop for $7.88 to serve as a planter on her porch. But she doesn't have a porch. Not anymore. She's been running and hiding with her daughters for some years now. Dweep? Once, or maybe several times, she dug the box up from its hiding place near the left fork of Bristlecone Creek. She'd sat on a boulder and held her face with long blackening fingers. Why should she open the box? There couldn't be anything in there she needed badly. She was surviving all right. She wasn't in shelter anymore, not really. She had nuts and chocolate and a half of a sandwich, a bottle of water, a notebook. She even had extra socks and a thin faux fleece blanket she stole leaving some flight or another. There it is again. What is that sound? We know that sound. Don't forget the cigarettes, the lighter, the pen, yes, and a pack of Pall Mall menthols, the long ones, or hundreds, and she hadn't opened it. The box. Curiosity kills the cat, and so on. Now, in a late afternoon chill, under boughs of trees, and surrounded by grasses, and thistles, and bluebells, and clematis, she once again passes a jagged fingernail packed with earthy blood over. I prefer bloody earth. Packed with earthy blood. Thank you. Over the linen-like surface of the box. So reckoning and considers what to do with it. She could take it home, douse it in stain remover and scrub. She could put it in the apartment hall for someone to pick up, someone who might think, in all that chic, sickly sweet emptiness of the North 6th apartments that welcomes the resident elevator exiter. Ooh, we could use a box. For a planter. For miscellaneous and useful forgotten things. Dweep? For makeup palettes that, over the years, have colored one another a leveling and dusty mauve. And if no one took it, that seemingly innocent and empty box, the surly maintenance man would haul it to the dumpster, and she'd never know the difference. She could still tell herself the preferred story, because stories of serendipity, however minor, have their own beating hearts and leathery wings. But she knows better. Dweep? This particular box, not much larger than a boot box, but looking more like a small suitcase with its tarnished brass buckles, is full of stories, her stories of survival, of death in life, of dumb mischief, despite no one else can release them. They're not their stories. And what would anyone want with narratives of a no one who is or was or will be nowhere in particular? Couldn't she start anew, outside of the box, to entertain herself for the remainder of her life sentence? Dweep? She could put old stories to rest before their purveyor's time. No one would notice the difference. You would notice. She would not. Not necessarily. She forgets things. We buried these for good reason. You know it and I know it. She'd buried all that adrenal fermented terror, all right. And she could open up, depressurize the space there, and bury it again. But she'd heard a rustling somewhere in those dark pines, those yawning stands of aspen, a prowling mountain lion if she could choose her predator, or a seismic rumbling from the dark animal earth. Run, she thought. Dweep? And she'd returned the box to a titteroy hole, pushed the earth back over it, and run. Where had we run to? It doesn't matter. What matters is that here she finds herself once more, creekside, digging the baby weight monstrosity back up. And the cuticles are cracked at nails' edges, and they hurt, and 3 fingers have been cut on sharp objects, and that should tell her something. Should it? Like what, for example? Like who or what she'd heard motioning there? Dweep? Like what she would have planted, had she a porch? Like what loneliness feels like the weightier stuff beneath the lonely. Oh, stop. What mattered was that the creek gurgled and chuffed, and then there was movement in the grasses, in the brush, coming closer. The abrasive scent of a soil full of charred bodies, and ash-scarred rooftops, and dead dogs, which, along with an inconstant light, had overwhelmed her, and the towhees and the crickets had whirred or screeched in response, a kind of madness escalating in her brutal ears. Wake up, Dweep, or someone or something, or just gravity itself, had smashed her head, and heaved the box on her big ribbed back, pushed her face, well into some sediment more alluvial in composition, clutching or catching a fistful of her hair to push her deeper into a composite of angular things, sharp things, old and odd-smelling things, and had come on her skin, as she'd reported to an officer in some other world. On the boundary between flux and corpse and all its inferences and implications, she couldn't breathe, her mouth and nostrils so full of such muckness easy. In through the nose, 1, 2, out through the mouth, 2, 3, 4. Or her face, and also the black muck, or a curiosity, were inside the box, forming a bright green shoot, making its way out at first light from a well-worn corner in 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4, a tiny tendril, by way of photosynthesis, an inevitability. But the birds, and the bees, and the locusts had no message for her, only a trilling. In this way she, too, rustled in a creep, inventing a lattice, inventing what it is to not die, a die not, and making the most of it. Shkama in 2, 3, out 2. What is that noise? For a wakeful, painful second she flashes in or out of Turkish, wishing for her overstuffed book bag, wanting to wish away a metallic breath in and out, in and out, and a fall that ended presumably with a thud and a crack. But that second, that trellis, recedes like everything else, eventually, out of grasp, or grasped from behind. Stop! Beside her is a, what? Table with indistinct food on it, a monitor flashing and waving in relative darkness. Good girl, dweep? I am not a girl. I am not good. Don't call me a good girl. How about a goodly girl? Or a girly good? A linen-like surface, making faces. This bed's spread wadded up in the bed's lower regions. It's all heated, familiar. She's felt it before. In a well-worn blue bellish gown she knows it the way she knows any knowable knot. But the breath breathes the tinny, and the face is fiery despite the bed, or maybe the bed is on fire, and she knows with equal ambivalence nothing is known outside of misfire. Synaptic twigs and bones, and things. Dweep? Hairline cracks are holes. Sights, sounds, soils, falling, sickness. Where is she? When is she? When is she not in a box? Breathe already. Dread the inhale, exhaustion the exhale. Face wet, head throbbing, blood. No, bandage. Exhale then, let it pass. The buckles are brass. Dirty brass ceiling shed a mess. Help me, thinks the dhoti. Who's there? I'm here, we're here. No one is here. Artemis, high-crowned figure of eggs, of animals, of stags, and bees, and things. Hands extended as offering or reception. Dweep, broken fingers, stubs of fingers she has. Christine looks but cannot or does not want to see. In a wakeful, painful, treeless recollection. A museum. Selçuk, and there, an Efes, a buried harbor. A cave hole, and a whole bag, the heaviest heart, word of her. Help me, she says, seeing Artemis in rock but feeling her in waves, of daughters. Yes, daughters, an offering, a request, but she has no libation to pour, no Iphigenia to march to pyre. You too, why would Artemis want a sweaty sailor king to sacrifice one of her own heroic aspects? Yes, why would she? Protector of women and children. Something's outlandish, firebrandish. Whose story is this? Forget Homer. Artemidorus, maybe the version in which Iphigenia survives, which is also the story of a woman, in a dimly lit room. Dweep, where am I? Let's talk about why this story is. Because I'm sad. You're hiding. Stop. You're hiding. I'm not. You saw someone at the Artemisium. Tourists. Just the mother, kneeling. And you stop. You asked for protection for your children. Can you protect your girls here, like this? A lowing, as if a birthing or a mourning, and yet a stifling, as if emitting from the trunk of a tree or a hollow of harbor. Dweep, light is scarce, if imagined, inconstant still. Where? She's in a room on a bed or near a creek bed box. Or she is buried in a dirty chamber guarded by tiny black and brown spiders. In her live 100 dead men, crawling out, crawling in. A plane will light off, and if she's not on it, she slips, thought to uncertain thought, where to when, or when to where. Either there's nothing to open, and no one to open up to, or she's deep in bony boxness, buried in soot or soil or ash, wanting to make her way out. Dweep, who is she to open? And why should it matter, to anybody, but to you, full of chastisement? I never chastise. I chastise sometimes. This is not that. The box is said to chaos, or the said box, the saying of the box, evidence of a kind of tongue-tie. Now, lightless, she sees nothing, but senses a cliff or a rift or a landing. She hears nothing. Maybe her ear has been boxed, or maybe she feels a crawling. She feels beaten. Maybe the shapely is not unlike linen dirty, but inside that silky, blackless night lining, smooth. Dweep, if you didn't come for the library, then what? Ajar? That box, if truth were told, What she's aware of, if awareness is that she aches, and her breath is some thin to stifled. And though it is so inky black back in this here jar box, what are you afraid of? Nothing, dweep, everything. That depression will swallow her whole, and she'll live in its acidic belly until she unskins. Or she will also live outside of it, unskinning all the same. That she'll enter an asylum of her own construction, and throw away the key, or forget where she put the key, or fail to make sense of lock and key. That they belong together. The rustling. Who's here? She wants to say, but words are still collecting themselves. De-isinfectant and alcohol drifts on a breeze. The back, buzzing, pinches at the base of the rope of the teeth of the spine. The neck is aching and sad, indicating a cavity, an aluminum, a foil, a seizure. Time is returning for her, and she can't have that. All of her wants to end the wrists, the ankles, the knees, the jaw, the boundless, the neck. It wants a rope. Let the rustlers rustle, dweep. They can't matter. They can't mind. They can neither jar nor jaw. They are also in the box. In darkness, in a swell of pain and spider, another recollection. A needle entered the buttock. Thrifty, she heard. Or was it 30? 30 compressions, 2 breaths, stuck in a pool of blood and black bile, in the fat ground slouch of belly. She recorded nothing. But she heard something. A chamber of crickets, a cat's yowl, a dog's bark. There was no shaving it, and it required no shaving. It required only babies. Babies, yes, follow that thought. A bursting light introduces a room, introduces a man holding papers, and a woman, wearing blue rubber gloves. We'll have to get out of this box, Christine says. Well, look who's still here. Idiomatic English, Turkish accent. Where are we? 30 chambers deep, Christine says. Nautilus. Or she says, imagine. A sun going down a jar. Try to make sense. If the dust were 1,000 times brighter than the sun, compared to the light of God, it is still darkness. They haven't read the Theotics. They'll think you're a Christian zealot. But she feels only dry suffocation, and a blind sight, and also a piercing faraway pain. A plain blight. Christine, Codex, man, Nedady, woman, chaotic steady sand. You can't possibly a hollow. A lift. Aloft from earthy sightlessness to blankets of stars to ambulance woman. We saw activity on the EG. You can take the report to your doctor. How do you feel? Something forcing something up and out of the throat. It bites animal uterus rise. Christine. Please no Letfin. In excess of reason and absence of inquiry she looks. Carefully now. Squintingly. Their heads are not receiving the sounds. The hand nevertheless pushes Christine's hair away from her eyes. Strand stick release. Damp. Woman. Hey, you will come home soon. We need information. Do you understand? I need a telephone number. Can you tell me your telephone number? Or you can say parents' telephone number. Have you friends in Selçuk? In Turkey? Yes. The lining is smooth and unnumbered. Well kept. And clean, she imagines, though she can't see it, quite. What with the biting and the burning? Can she feel it? The number? She who? Absence of. Yak mu? Christine asks. A blood pool. Dark earth. Poolishness. Var m. Lasai. Bur. Iki. Eudiaris cisadilla, she says. Wondering. Where's the 4? What happened to 4? Head, hurting. We will talk later, says the nice woman, and doctor, and nurse, or doctor, or nurse and nurse. They look at each other. Oddly, the woman touches Christine's shoulder. She grasps the woman's hand, and hears herself saying, she's confusing me. They are all so confused. Fingers, smiles, memory, fingers sliding out or in, tracing, saying, Ber iki eudiaris cisadilla. There's no dart, not anymore. Dweep, dweep. Says, say, or in silence, say, is this any way for a mother of daughters to die?